Peace, family. This Underground Railroad. We reporting live from Central Park in NYC with the Blue Pill. Blue, what's happening?
What's good with you, family?
I got a couple of questions for you, Blue. Before we start, Blue, I mean, the whole city was shut down yesterday, Blue. The trains, the buses, I mean, just about everything. We was on a curfew. If you got caught driving your car, there was gonna be a fine. This is unprecedented, Blue. Never seen it before. To make that even worse, there was no blizzard. We got about 6-7 inches of snow. So my first question would be, because you know the internet started blazing with all types of theories of preparation for martial law and false flags and this and that, and if they can't make a prediction 24 hours in advance, how the fuck we gonna believe them about climate change and global warming 100 years? These niggas can't get it 24 hours in advance, right? They said this was gonna be the worst storm ever in New York City. When I heard that, me and my girl was like, "What the fuck? The worst storm ever?" Because we done seen some storms. So my first question, Blue, is if they can't get it right 24 hours in advance, was that done purposely? And if not, how the hell did they screw up a prediction like this, Blue? Before I get into the other questions.
Right. From what I understand, you know, meteorology is not an exact science, meaning that there's all sorts of various factors that can determine weather patterns, okay? And weather patterns are something that you can only predict coming down to the minutes, you know? So for them even proposing that they can predict a weather pattern 24 hours in advance is false science. So they've been misleading people all along. They've been rolling the dice, right? Making predictions, okay, which is tantamount to rolling dice. And if they get near it, you know, then they get accredited with the ability of being forecasters, right? Predictions and forecasters, all of that shit sounds very spellbinding to me. You feel me? So it's no difference. It's people that are playing with the weather or playing with nature or playing as if they know nature, you know, and nature converts to God's intent. So they're saying, if I can predict weather, if I can forecast it, what difference does that make them from a diviner or a spiritualist? You know what I'm saying? Or somebody that you go, that's cutting chickens and shit like that. It's the same thing that they're doing with the weather. Whether they're quote unquote manipulating the weather for ulterior motives or gains or what have you, that remains to be proven. We have to see who benefited from this. I know that if you own the supermarket in New York City, you know what I'm saying, you are very happy tonight because they clean the shelves off. So every time that they beat the drums of hysteria in New York City, it seems to be for financial gains and motives, because they emphasize people should go shopping, and that's exactly what people do. When people are fearful in New York, they go shopping. They go on shopping frees and shopping bonanzas. And for anybody that walked into a supermarket in New York City, you've seen all of the shelves cleansed, I mean cleaned, for a false flag.
Anybody that watch my YouTube channel, they know what we talk about. They know the frequency we on. They know we get into some deep metaphysics, Blue. In the past, I'm a student of Bobby Hemmett.
Yeah.
Watch his material for years and years. In the past, Bobby, as well as many others, not just Bobby, but he just came immediately to mind, dealt with the ability of us being able to control and manipulate the weather ourselves.
Right.
Us having the ability, us being connected with nature, us having the ability to change the weather patterns if we really wanted to. If when we're in a certain emotional mind state. I remember Bobby said one time that something happened down south, man, and it was and brothers was out heat. Something happened with the heat. I don't want to misquote him, but something happened with the heat, and there was no heat in a lot of homes down there. And he said the energy of the people, they were so upset and they wanted the heat so bad, right, that the temperature started to rise, and it started to get hotter and hotter during the winter down south. So I want to say that to ask you, Blue, do we have the ability to manipulate and control the weather with our thoughts, our feelings, and, you know, our willpower?
Absolutely. You know, let me just add this. Friday evening, we were in Boston doing a lecture, okay? Now, I know based on the fact that we were inside of a room where the heat wasn't on, okay? But when we started going all the way upstairs with the information and warmed up, by that evening, when I finished my portion of my lecture, it started snowing in Boston. Everybody that attended that lecture was like, yo, y'all made it snow out here. The fact that it's 24 inches in Boston right now and it missed New York City, I'm getting texts from Boston by people that came to the second lecture, you know, which we held on Saturday out there, saying, damn, y'all brought the snow. You know what I'm saying? It's a snowpocalypse up here. So I know that if we are composed of 1 trillion cells, right, and those cells are giving off a particular frequency, you know what I'm saying, and we understand that, you know, you're a trillionaire, you have 1 trillion ions, you're the heir of 1 trillion ions, and we know that the ionosphere is right above us, and the ionosphere is what's predicting and dictating these particular weather patterns. I know that if you charge your ions, you can affect the ionosphere. So, of course, we can affect the weather. Of course, we've done it plenty of times. But, of course, you know, again, you would have to have experienced something like this to be 100% sure. And I've experienced it more than once. You know what I'm saying? So, y'all want to answer any questions we got real quick? We shooting this news segment about the supposed blizzard in New York City. How did it affect you?
It's great because we just having fun. Just came from sledding and having a good time. Been earning money, snow and show for money and stuff. Yeah.
So you've been able to come up shoveling and everything like that?
Yeah.
You don't mind the day off?
No.
Right. Was you a little scared because they trumped this up? They said it's going to be the biggest blizzard New York ever seen. I seen some big blizzards in New York. You feel me? Was y'all fearful at all?
No.
Okay. All right. Indeed, family. All right. Well, y'all be safe out here. You as well. Peace. Yeah. So,
Blue, I want to ask you, Blue, what does global warming, I mean, with these predictions being thrown out by these meteorologists and these climate change experts, and them telling us about global warming, and we gotta make this change, and we gotta do this, and we gotta do that. Is global warming a natural process that's supposed to occur? Are they lying to us once again? Because Al Gore's on this big campaign, global warming. He even got Pharrell down with him. And he had the movie Inconvenient Truth about 6 years ago, dealing with global warming. So from your metaphysical research and your knowledge, you deal with astrology, all that. What exactly is global warming? What can you tell the people that is?
again, like I said, any science dealing with weather is a false science because weather is not a constant. Weather is something that's always subject to change based on the energy and the frequencies giving off by the planet, and the way that it correlates to different planets in a particular system and what have you, and where the planet is at this particular time, or where it's moving to, in the solar system. So when we look at the Schumann resonance of the planet, the fact that the planet is, is speeding up, and that's increasing a level of heat that is coming from the planet. When we look at what's going on outside of the planet in terms of the ionosphere, increasing its hole in the ozone and different levels of radiation coming onto the planet. Yes, a lot of these factors are contributing to the warming and the heating of the planet. The energy that the people collectively on the planet are giving off, and the fact that, again, that energy is being captured in the ionosphere, all of that is also going to affect the warming of the planet. Increased stress levels, diet, you feel me? All of these things that are affecting us physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. All of these things are going to contribute to how the planet is going to respond to the energy that we're giving off. So we have to understand this symbiotic relationship between us and the planet. So if they're telling you that global warming is an issue, what is that saying about the people that are warming up the planet, or that are being affected by a warmer planet? How will that benefit us? You know what I'm saying? How will it work against us? What exactly is carbon emissions? What exactly is a carbon tax? You know what I'm saying? Do we emit carbon? Are we the carbon emissions? Is our consciousness and our awakening increasing the carbon emissions that they're talking about? You feel me? So we have to investigate all of these sciences and look at it, through a very subjective eye. And anything that Al Gore is behind, I don't know if I'm 100%, sure what those particular motives are. Because again, at the end of the day, it all goes back to a financial imperative. There are people that are looking to make billions off of this new quote unquote threat. You feel me? But at the same time, I must add that if in fact there is any validity to this particular threat, I also see a lack of response on the part of people that can actually make changes. If they're saying that the planet is being threatened, there's definitely some people sitting back saying, we don't give two shits, because if this means that you want us to stop using this oil, this petroleum, it ain't gonna happen. We'd rather see this shit go down in a ball of fire first.
Many years ago, Blue, and this before you went out to Cali for a little while. I remember me and you was having a conversation in Brooklyn about my stand on Fulton Street. And you had said something that always stuck with me. We was talking about how the weather changed in New York and how it don't get hot like how it used to get hot.
Right.
And how the winters were going even further into spring, and it seemed like it was going from winter straight to summer. Yeah. And we was like, yo, the weather's kind of changed in New York, and we don't get summers like that. We don't get like last year, for example, Blue, we didn't have a heat wave the whole summer. A heat wave is 3 consecutive days of 90 degrees or more. We didn't have one the whole entire summer in New York, and that was kind of rare. Like, we get heat waves in New York. Right. So you said that, it's the influx of European and the white people that's moving to the city, and the black people that's leaving, migrating down south. They're making the weather patterns change. And that always stuck with me. And anytime I bring that up to somebody, they like, damn, that shit sound kind of interesting. I would like for you to elaborate on that and to explain why would the influx of Europeans and the departure of black people create a colder weather pattern in New York City?
Well, I read some accounts from the indigenous people that were here when settlers, quote unquote settlers, first appeared, and what they spoke about during that particular time period was a influx of weather patterns. They were saying that they had the briskest winters ever when a European appeared. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, damn, how would that be? Do the people have a physical effect on the weather? Is the weather conducive, or is it going to change based on the occupation of a people in a particular place at a particular time? And I think, according to science, we can only concur that that has to be what it is, because, like I said, people are emitting energy. They're emitting thought and thought waves and what have you into the ionosphere, and it's charging the ionosphere, and the ionosphere is going to activate, or it's gonna it's gonna do certain things to complement that particular energy pattern. So if more Europeans are coming here and their body type or their energy is more conducive to a winter climate, then there's going to be colder climates or colder winters. You know what I'm saying? When those particular people have a larger presence, when the melanin is going to be leaving that area, retreating south, then there's going to be an imbalance. You know what I'm saying? Case in point, if anybody in New York City is honest enough, you know what I'm saying, to admit that when they're on 125th Street is always 10 degrees warmer. You know what I'm saying? 125th Street is always 10 degrees warmer than any other street in New York. I don't care what time it is. Peace, family. How y'all feel about this blizzard? It never showed up.
This was a blizzard?
It was supposed to be.
I don't think it was. I mean, you bigged it up talking about 18 inches, and look at this. This is typical winter for New York.
Right.
And then
I'm used to this because I was born in Syracuse. Okay. So usually I'm used to seeing way more snow than this.
So why do you think it was so much hysteria and this unprecedented locking down of the city for something that never happened? How did it make you feel?
I mean, hey, it doesn't really bother me, even though it's kind of ridiculous. And we can be pretty paranoid, so...
Hey, I thought it was okay for was because son. It looked like the visibility was bad last night, so. And once the visibility cleared up, like, it was bad like this last year with hail and everything coming down, and the schools were still open. That's what got me mad. And then we got like 8 inches and schools are closed, but we can walk around, we can drive around, trains are still open, so why bake it up? And you just kill the whole day by baking it up still, so I still think it's pointless.
Appreciate y'all. Peace. Be safe. Yeah. So, if anybody can attest to the fact that, on 125th Street, the highest concentration of melanin in the city, there's always an increase, 5 to 10 degree increase in temperature on that particular juncture. If we can concur that the amassing of melanated bodies can do that, then on the reverse, then we also have to say the amassing of non-melanated bodies can also be responsible for this, this rash and, cold temperature or what have you.
There's this brother that watches my program. I know he'll probably watch this. I think his name is Just Hero. And if I'm chopping up your name, my bad, homie. But I don't know him. I just, he called me about once or twice, and he told me he enjoys the show, and he just wanted to build with me. And he said something to me one time. He happened to, I forgot what happened, but he mentioned the weather one time, and he was like, "Yo, Rich, they what happens is that being that the universe is a holographic projection and everything is mental, they throw a so-called prediction out there. And if the collective consciousness buys into it, then it becomes that. If they don't buy into that, then that's what we see as a prediction that failed." So he was like that they're not really predicting the weather. It's, what I would say, it's the science of suggestion. What they say is the highest form of voodoo. The highest form of voodoo, they saying, is just when a motherfucker suggests something to you and have you believe it. So is it? Give me your take on that aspect. What the brother talked about. They have a general sense of what the weather be, but they'll throw something out there, and if we agree on it, then it becomes that.
Again, like I mentioned earlier, and you just reiterated about predictions and forecasting. That's what happens when you go to somebody who's divining. You know what I'm saying? That's what happens when you go to somebody who's throwing stones on your behalf, right? So they can practice the art of suggestion, just like you said, to say X, Y, and Z is going to happen. You accept it, and you create that hologram in your mind, and you start pulling towards you. Yeah, the wave, the particle, you start pulling towards you the things that's going to manifest that. You feel me? It's the same thing with these forecasters. They're predicting, they're forecasting, right? To say, yo, this is going to be this, that's going to be that. Enough people buy into the hysteria and they fall back and they're like, damn, when the shit start going down, they just accept it as such. Now, that will hold true, but what about a situation like this particular blizzard? Because I don't know too many people that didn't buy into it. I seen a few people on Facebook saying, yo, you need to call on the ancestors and tell them to shut this shit down. Shout out to A.A. Rashid. And I was like, yeah, why not? You know what I'm saying? Why don't we actually, call on the ancestors and improve our particular dominance when it comes to weather and to, weather is air is spirit, spirits are the ancestors. So I don't really appreciate when people get on a high horse and they like, yo, HAARP and this and that, you know what I mean? Like everything is HAARP, you know what I'm saying? Like even in the winter, you know what I'm saying? We see a speckle of snow, it's HAARP. They doing something, you know what I'm saying? They pulling something off. But in this particular instant, like you said, with the unprecedented level of lockdown, okay, I was outside last night around 9 or 10 o'clock. They was like, don't think just because it's clear at 9 o'clock that you safe it's going to be blizzards at 12. We're going to shut down the trains at 11. I'm like, yo, people are still at work. How you just going to shut down the transit? They shitted on a lot of people, cut the roads off. They was going to stop people. Like, they just went to lengths that I've never seen them go to before. I don't know if it was de Blasio because he had a lot of weight on his shoulders because of the campaign or what have. I mean, because of the, his unfavorability with the police, and he feels that, he don't want to get that black eye again. I don't know what the hysteria was. I don't know if there was a black ops false flag operation going on. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if the UFOs was coming. I don't know what it was, B. All I do know is that it was unprecedented in terms of the hype and the hysteria that we saw attached to this.
One thing before I ask the next question, I just want the people to know that, you know, we live in it's a linear thought pattern that permeates the collective consciousness in this society, and sometimes we think it's either or, yes or no, it got to be this or it got to be that, when sometimes it could be both. Right. So when we talk about HAARP, people say, was it HAARP or was it human nature? Maybe it could have been us doing it and using HAARP to get it done. It could be HAARP and us, you know what I'm saying? It could be, you know, some shit, unnatural shit happen, or natural, whatever, and, you know, some people say, oh, it's HAARP. It could have been us making HAARP do the shit. That type of shit occurs too. Right. So just a way to change our perception. But what do you think about the whole martial law thing, Blue, that this was just a drill to prepare us? You know, they planted something in the train station, some people say, or they, you know, this is to prepare us for what's to come, to see how successful it will be at locking the city down and giving the city a curfew.
Again, if it was a false flag operation to test martial law, I think that you know, based on the level of results that we got from this, we'll see. You know, they'll come out with the polls and everything tomorrow and shit like that. I mean, who knows? At the end of the day, it's like, who knows? It definitely, you know, if that was the agenda, you know, they pull something off that they can get some statistical information to gauge a particular response from. Like I said, but if you owned a supermarket, you know, you was gravy, you was Gucci. Like, this shit meant a lot to you. They said there was an hour line outside of the Trader Joe's just to get inside, and then you had to wait another hour to get to the counter. So, you know, if you telling me the supermarkets got something to do with it, if you telling me that you know, the people that own the supermarket chains and shit, right? I think Kraft, the dude that owns the Patriots, he got some supermarket chains and shit, right? So he got the he got the Inflate Gate, then he got the Blizzard Gate. You know what I'm saying? Like, the 1% is sitting lovely with all of these fiascos that they pulling on the people. But yeah, you know, you're not gonna know until you know. I think everything in New York, to some degree or another, is an experiment. You know what I mean? Even on the surface, if it ain't. So, who knows?
As with this segment, with every segment we do, you know, the purpose of, you know, this show is to, you know, show the power that we possess. And, you know, regardless of what happens, regardless of, you know, the meteorologists making these predictions and it don't come true, whether we talk about police killings or whatever we talk about, whether we talk about metaphysics or astrology or whatever, it always goes back to that God that is us and our ability to change and manipulate things. I appreciate you once again for coming on this segment, Blue. And to close it out, what would you have to tell the people? Because, you know, we got movies like The Day After Tomorrow, I think that's the name of it, where, you know, a lot of people fear this doomsday to occur, and they want to be prepared, and they want to take precautions. So what advice, to close out, would you have to give to people that fear this earthquake that might occur, or this blizzard, or this hurricane, or this tornado, or any event that may be caused by nature? What would you want to say to the people at this time who are divine, might I say?
Nature has an unprecedented way of making us get in contact with ourselves. You feel me? I noticed that. You know what I'm saying? When nature happens, you know, people start stressing cuddle time more. You know, the emphasis on love. People start calling people that they care about more. You know, people that are with themselves pay greater attention to what's in their fridge, and, you know what I'm saying, having food on deck, you know what I'm saying, having toiletries on deck. You feel me? So these threats always drive us closer to ourselves, or drive us closer to our loved ones. And I think that that's always a benefit. That's always a good thing. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing, quote unquote, negative that comes out of that. But like this with all things, you know what I'm saying? It just has you not falling into fear. I was in New York City when Sandy was on its way. You feel me? Harlem didn't get hit. I was in the Bronx. The Bronx got hit. Everywhere around me but my block got hit. Okay? So that was one hellified fear campaign. It was the superstorm, Sandy. You know what I mean? And I just couldn't feed into the fear. I couldn't feed into the fear. I was like, yo, this is not going to affect me. I'm not going to get washed up. You know what I mean? And I had to be just, I had to be firm in my convictions about that. Just like with the blizzard, you have to believe that you're the one in a million that it's not going to affect. You always have to see yourself coming out of these situations. Even I've dreamt before about nuclear disasters, and I'm not one person that, comes out of the manhole when everything is all over. I always have to see myself surviving whatever apocalyptic situation is at hand. And I've always felt that way about myself. That shit, if something go down and it's crazy, I'ma still be around to reseed the planet. So if you got such a strong feeling about, who you are, what your mission is, and nothing can stop that, then you're always going to be able to advance yourself into the future in your mind, even with these particular terror campaigns.
Yeah, I know I said that was the last question, but you just reminded me. I had a show with KT last week, and this, of course, when you deal with snowstorms, you think about fear. When you deal with earthquakes, all that shit evokes fear in people. They're thinking about the end of the world type shit. So me and KT was building. KT was like that. Both of us, we was talking, and KT was kind of like, fear is presenting itself. What we see happen. Like if a person gets shot or a police killing or, something devastating happens to a person, it wasn't that external thing that killed that person. It was the fear inside the person that killed that person. And fear kind of packages itself in these packages. And it could be, like I said, 5,000 years ago, it could have been a motherfucking green alien to our ancestors. If they had fear, it may have manifested itself as a green alien. But we was getting to the point where everything's internal. And that requires a tremendous amount of responsibility of the person that views life that way from a sort of a subjective lens, where everything they encounter is a product of an inner emotion within them, and that the external world really doesn't exist. Yeah. It's really just you projecting an aspect of your consciousness, and it's a trick that this 3D, living in this 3D dimension, we play on ourselves to experience ourselves outside of ourselves. Exactly. So, but the dream turns into a nightmare when we have fear. But when it's all love, this shit could be heaven on earth. Right. So could you go into that just a little bit about how fear will present itself in different packages?
As you said, fear is an outward manifestation of an inner projection. And there are things that we take outside of ourselves that come into our inner world and start manipulating our inner being to project those things outwardly, which then we respond to. So we have an outer response to an inner stimuli from an outer, from a situation outside of ourselves. What you got to ask yourself at the end of the day is like, are you responsible for the entire projection? Are you responsible for the outer projection that has an inner reflection that you respond to outwardly? So it's an interplay and an interrelation that you really have to have a mental grasp on in order to conquer or counter it, and not everybody has that level of discipline. You feel me? So, I mean, that's, huh? Yeah, Neville deals with it. He says that, that's the thing that needs to be conquered amongst all things is that fear factor. And once you get past that, you coasting. You feel me? You're coasting, like you're on autopilot. Everything that you are thinking about, you're manifesting. And this is a level of mastery, mind you. We're not talking about something that people can achieve in a 5 minute or 5 hour or 5 day session. You know what I'm saying? Or 5 years for that matter. But some may be, because some may be already rooted, you know, in a particular way where it don't take them to that space or that place. So I have to be very mindful when I'm talking to people about this level of mastery, that, you know, because of somebody's indoctrination, lifelong indoctrination at that, this might be the furthest thing from their, you know, conceptual grasp. Like, they really can't get what we saying because they so far removed. They might just be hampered by religion by itself. You might have a fear of God. You know what I'm saying? I don't have a fear of God. You know what I'm saying? That's the big homie and everything, but I don't have a fear. You know what I mean? Because I know that there's consequences, but I don't necessarily have a fear. I have a reverence and respect. You know what I'm saying? I know what Saturn does to dish out punishment. That's not so much of me being fearful, you know what I'm saying, of the chastising aspects of that deific force, but I have to respect it because I know that that hammer does come down. But if I don't do anything out of the bounds, if I follow whatever the lesson is being laid out, why have a fear? It's a mutual respect. You know what I'm saying? I know that if I keep my shit together, I know that the benefaction will always come. There's no fear there. There's a respect. You know what I'm saying? There's rules I have to abide by in order to receive the blessings. So, you know, I've erased that relationship. I don't have a relationship with fear. I know that it's false evidence, you know, but I've been through some horrific shit in order to erase that fear. I've been put in positions where I had to remove that fear in order to stand tall and survive. So once I saw that that was no longer there and it diminished on some after earth shit, I was able to slay that dragon. You know, but I've been put in the fire in order to do that. And it's something that you got to reinforce constantly, you know, because there's always going to be spooky, you know, situations and boogeymen and shit like that that's popping up. You got to always remind yourself it's not real. And the best way to remind yourself it's not real is you got to run up in there and destroy it. You feel me? You know, every chance. I even have a mental exercise when, and I share with the family, when something arises on the mental plane, because remember, the shit that's happening on the physical plane is a manifestation of what happens upstairs first. So even when something pops up in my mind that I'm uncomfortable with, I envision myself swinging a fiery sword and destroying that situation. Whatever that situation is manifests as a monster, right? I destroy it with a sword. I cut the shit in half like on some Voltron shit when he used to come with the sword and just kill that monster. That's how I approach things that can potentially manifest in my mind as, you know, boogeyman type situation, fearful situations that will have me apprehensive on the physical plane. There's also one more technique I'll share with you, right? When there's certain things that already have happened in your life that, you know, you might not be able, you didn't get a grasp on it at that moment, and those things become reoccurring in your life. And because they're reoccurring, you know, and they might bring you a level of shame, and shame could bring fear. You know what I'm saying? Put it in a circle in your mind. Put it in a circle like a merry-go-round, and just laughter. Just drown it out with laughter. As it spins around that circle, you drown it out with laughter. You find yourself laughing at it. Just clowning it, you know what I'm saying? Laughing at it and erasing all of the sting of the quote unquote shame out of it. Then you can release yourself from it and you won't be fearful. All right. And with that, family, peace.